international cinema, these voices, these different, these diverse voices that we're not seeing elsewhere. And if you're an economist, you may look at it this way, that the film industry put all of its eggs in this big, splashy commercial basket and left an opening. And so other people rushed to fill that niche. And film festivals have certainly filled that niche in recent years. In the state of North Carolina, there's more than 25 film festivals. They range from, some are animation festivals around the country. We've got documentary film festivals, festivals that showcase international cinema specifically. There's festivals for screenwriters, for cinematographers. There's a festival for editors. No matter what kind of interest you have in cinema, there's a festival out there. And the value of festivals, again, is that they foster conversations and they showcase divergent voices and allow audiences to discover again. Because again, commercial cinema or commercial film has gotten away from that. So festivals have really emerged as the one haven for independent film, where everyone is there for the love of cinema. The downside, though, is that filmmakers have, there's very little opportunity to grow beyond that. And if you look at the numbers, it starts to get really bleak. Earlier today, we talked about the numbers of screenplays submitted to Hollywood studios, particularly this one that Luke, the gentleman earlier today, was talking about. Film festivals are just as bad, if not worse. The Sundance Film Festival receives, in 2007, they received, I believe, 7,700 film submissions. These are completed films, mind you, that were done, that were sent to them for consideration to show in their program. Our festival received about 1,100, 1/7. So if you look at that and you say there's 7,700 new films, being new films, brand new films, that they're going to have a whole other 7,700 next year that were submitted, and they're only going to showcase 100, 150 of them. You know, where are those films going, and what are those films? Who's making these films? There's a vast quantity out there, and festivals around the country and around the world have picked up that and are playing them in different capacities. We show films that aren't shown elsewhere. We show films that other festivals show. There's a giant overlap, and there's developed a festival circuit where a film will premiere at Sundance, let's say, or Cannes, or Toronto, and will then go through the next 12 months, 18 months, even 36 months, showing at other festivals around the country. And it's literally, remember I discussed this roadshow concept and the platform concept of releasing a film. This has replaced that. This discovery of cinema has emerged, or has become, it now lives in festivals. And the job of festivals, as I see it, is to find, well, first of all, it's to respond to your audience. Our audience in particular is very passionate about seeing things that they're not seeing elsewhere. There are other festivals which are really geared towards just finding the coolest, hippest things they can, the newest things they can, the premieres, the celebrities. No matter what you like, there's a festival for you. So festivals have a real strong role to play in this new world of independent cinema that's developed and that's emerged. And of course, what else am I going to say, by the way, as a festival professional? I hope I don't lose my job. That's where my bread and butter comes from. And then, because I want to kind of wrap this up and get to some questions if there are any, the next step, which festivals obviously wouldn't exist without audiences. And audiences are the last major component of this. We've gone through filmmakers and producers and distributors and festivals. It's important to talk about audiences because you've heard it, I don't know, sometimes I feel like concepts that I see over and over in documentaries are concepts that everybody's hearing or seeing about or thinking about. So when I say what I'm about to say, I don't know if this is something that's really been reinforced much in mainstream media. I know that it's something that I've been seeing quite a lot in documentaries. But related to the food industry, there's been a lot of talk about organic and local food. And if that's what you want to see, you have to vote with your dollars. And if you want to see more organic oranges and apples, and you want to buy your produce from a local farmer, then you have to go to your local farmer's market. And the more that you do that, and the more money you spend in that, that's only going to further the cycle. And you're going to see more of that and more of that. By some of the faces, I'm guessing I'm the only one who's hearing this message. So I apologize. The same is held true with cinema. If you are interested in different voices, and it's okay if you're not. If you really would rather just veg out and watch Breakfast at Tiffany's, and that's the height of your film weekend, that's fine. There's a place for you in this world. But if you want to see new cinema and exciting voices, then you owe it to yourself to seek out that cinema. Now, living in Coles County or Charleston, it's probably a little bit difficult to find that new cinema. So how do you get to it? And the answer to that is increasingly becoming the digital options, and going through Netflix and seeing films through the online screening processes. Interestingly, what we're going to start seeing more, I predict, in the next few years, companies like Netflix, which are big aggregators of films and are showcasing them to vast numbers of people all around the world, are going to start having really solid metrics. Well, they already do, but they're going to start kind of emerging in the way business is done. If we start seeing that documentaries really are leading, are emerging as a very popular big thing, if more and more people are watching documentaries, again, because there's been kind of a wane in that, then you better believe that we're going to start hearing more about it. That, hey, there's this emergence of real online consumers watching documentaries. So that's really the best way for people outside of the major media markets to be able to see films. But it's more than just doing that. It's sort of demanding, you want to demand quality cinema. So you want to visit quality cinema, you want to see quality cinema, you want to talk about quality cinema. I have friends who take trips to New York just to see movies, and that's their whole weekend. Not something that we can all do, of course, but it'd be nice. In kind of summary of all this, I wanted to talk about, very quickly, in conclusion, I guess, about where this all fits together. And that is, in the media world, there's been a lot of talk. I'm a former journalist, so I have some experience with this, of the coalescing of contraction, I guess is a better word, of the number of media outlets. So where once before all your newspapers around the country were locally owned, now they're being picked up. Radio stations around the country have been merged into one giant conglomerate. What you've ended up with are gigantic entities which control different media outlets. Now, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, and I'm not preaching that this is the end of civilization as we know it. But what this leads to is a reduction in the number of voices that we get. And when you transfer this to other concepts like cinema, like film, which has an immediate impact, which enables us to gain a perspective on the world, independent voices around the world coming to us through many different mediums and many different places. If you suddenly have a fewer number of people who reign in that process, if you have fewer people arbiters of what we see, of what we're allowed to view and think about, then it drastically reduces our perspective on the world. And I think it all comes back to perspective. Film provides perspective, and independent cinema in particular provides a perspective that we don't get otherwise. So I believe that independent cinema, its role in our world is to provide a perspective that we don't get. And I think that filmmakers will increasingly see that trying to emulate Hollywood films or trying to just make a movie so that they can get their foot in the door is not necessarily going to be the clearest path, or that's not going to lead them to the best results. One would hope, coming from the sort of art point of view, that filmmakers and distributors and hopefully festivals and audiences and producers will begin to see that the reduction in the number of outlets and voices is bad for business. And the more opportunities we have to see things we're not used to see things we're uncomfortable with, that we're unfamiliar with, the better off we're going to be. And the better we're going to understand the world, the different people who are around us, the different cultures. We don't want a homogenous culture. So I think that hopefully my message of positive is that we're going to see more of this as we move forward. that the popularity of film festivals, the popularity of the internet is going to lead to more divergent voices.